Good morning and salute, salute, salute. I just wanted to play a couple of documentaries on Puerto Rico. Nothing special. Oh, I need to turn this up here. Share screen.
Puerto Rico is paradise, beaches, lush mountains, and a rich culture. But beneath the beauty, something is very wrong.
Excuse me.
In 2006, nearly 4 million people lived here. By 2100, it'll be 1 million. That is insane. Puerto Rico, a US territory but not a state, is the poorest, most unequal part of the United States, and it's in freefall. A 20-year economic crisis, austerity, hurricanes, earthquakes, and a pandemic hit the island hard. And instead of help rebuilding, Puerto Ricans got skyrocketing costs, privatized services, and mass displacement. But here's the thing, Puerto Rico isn't poor. It made American tycoons rich off sugar, then it became a shining star of development, one of the richest places in the Americas, the Caribbean's manufacturing powerhouse, pumping out life-saving medicines and medical equipment. But all that wealth was drained off the island. Since 2006, 15% of Puerto Ricans have left. Puerto Rico now has the 7th oldest population on Earth. The tax base is shrinking as young people flee while more and more people enter retirement. Puerto Rico's birth rate is the 7th lowest in the world. It's lower than Japan's. Nearly half the population lives below the poverty line. And despite paying more for electricity than anywhere else in the United States, rolling blackouts frequently plunge Puerto Rico into darkness for weeks, if not months at a time. In order to resolve its $123 billion debt since 2016, Puerto Rico hasn't even been ruled by its own government. An unelected fiscal control board, nicknamed the La Junta, handpicked by the US president, calls the shots. And Puerto Ricans, despite being US citizens, can't vote for the president that appoints them. The local government has sold out the country as a paradise for the ultra-rich.
Dorado, Puerto Rico, and I bought this $16 million house.
Now, real estate tycoons, YouTubers, and crypto traders have flocked to the island in their thousands to live in a sunny US territory while paying no taxes. A Puerto Rico without Puerto Ricans is arriving fast, and this is the story of how we got here.
The timeless surf pounds this Caribbean shoreline of what Christopher Columbus dubbed El Puerto Rico.
This is Puerto Rico, called Boriquen in the original Taino language, which is why Puerto Ricans call themselves Boricuas. Now you might be wondering why this island, all the way over here, is part of the United States. For over 400 years, Puerto Rico was a Spanish colony with no political autonomy.
Que Colón descubrió estas tierras, vinieron y se apoderaron de las tierras que había aquí. Y no tan solo se apoderaron de la tierra, sino que esclavizaron a sus verdaderos dueños, a los indios. Entonces, pues se fue desarrollando la agricultura. Durante la época de España, aquí se desarrolló una gran industria del café, sobre todo, ¿no?
But by the late 1800s, things were changing. In 1897, growing anger with Spanish rule fueled independence movements in Cuba and Puerto Rico. Faced with mounting resistance, Spain finally caved, granting both islands limited self-rule with elected parliaments. Puerto Ricans finally got a taste of freedom. Just a few months later, the US declared war on Spain. Spain, which was an old, decrepit, and dying empire, quickly lost the war, and in the 1898 Treaty of Paris, handed Puerto Rico, Guam, and the Philippines to the United States, while Cuba became an independent country under strict American oversight. From that moment on, Puerto Rico would be an American colony, a valuable military outpost in the Caribbean. In Washington, lawmakers weren't exactly sure what to do with Puerto Rico. Should they grant it independence, make it a state, or keep it in limbo? Eventually, limbo won out, as American lawmakers didn't want to grant equal rights to savages addicted to headhunting and cannibalism. The Insular Cases, a series of Supreme Court rulings, cemented Puerto Rico's status as an unincorporated territory that belonged to, but was not part of, the United States. This allowed the US to rule over Puerto Rico without granting its people full constitutional rights. Puerto Rico was forbidden from negotiating trade treaties with foreign nations or setting its own taxes and tariffs. Puerto Ricans were subject to US taxation without representation in Congress. The island was forced into the US tariff system. There was now tariff-free trade between Puerto Rico and the United States, making Puerto Rican sugar highly profitable for American refiners, as it could enter the US tariff-free, unlike sugar from a foreign country like Cuba. But this destroyed Puerto Rico's other industries. The island's main export was coffee, grown by self-sufficient farmers who had exported their beans to Europe through Spain. But now its exports were subject to tariffs Europeans placed on US goods. Cheaper Brazilian beans rapidly took over the market, and Puerto Rican beans couldn't compete in the US market, which was already dominated by Brazil. Puerto Rico's coffee industry, once the fourth largest in the world, collapsed, along with the livelihoods of thousands of farmers. In 1900, the US appointed Charles Herbert Allen from Massachusetts as Puerto Rico's governor. As governor, he raised taxes on Puerto Ricans and denied them loans to develop their own industry, while subsidizing American-owned farms, and he handed over tons of government offices to high-paid Americans. Hurricane San Ciriaco devastated the island's coffee crop in 1899. A year later, Allen refused to distribute relief funds. Then in 1900, the US brought in a property tax on the value of property. American banks decided the value of the property. American-owned land was appraised low, meaning those owners paid almost no tax. Puerto Rican farmers, well, their land was appraised high, and their tax bills exploded. The farmers, reeling from the hurricane and penniless, were forced to sell their land. And guess who bought that land on the cheap? American sugar companies. Governor Charles Herbert Allen spent just 17 months setting this all up in Puerto Rico. Then he resigned, and he went straight to Wall Street and started building a sugar empire. He and his business partners snatched up the very land he had helped seize from Puerto Rican farmers, and he got lots of help from all those men he had placed in positions of power. By 1920, Allen and US bankers had converted nearly half of all arable land in Puerto Rico into sugar plantations owned by American corporations. Thousands of once self-sufficient Puerto Rican farmers were kicked off their land. Now they worked as landless wage laborers, paid starvation wages on plantations on the land that they had been displaced from. While Wall Street made millions, sugarcane workers on the island earned just 75 cents a day, less than half of what they made under the Spanish. What was once land used to grow a diverse range of crops and food was transformed into a sugar monoculture for export. Hunger became rampant. By 1907, Charles Herbert Allen's American Sugar Refining Company was the largest sugar syndicate in the world. Today, it's called Domino Sugar. The profits from Puerto Rico's sugar industry flowed directly to the United States, with no reinvestment in the local economy. The work of Puerto Ricans helped to develop the US, while their home remained stagnant. Without capital, Puerto Ricans couldn't build their own industries. A local middle class never emerged, and the island remained economically stunted. This was a textbook colonial economy. Puerto Rico's entire economy was redirected to produce what it did not consume, sugar, and was forced to import everything else from its colonizer. The island existed solely to fuel American industry and to purchase American goods. As it was put in 1929, the American flag flies over a prosperous factory worked by slaves, who have lost their land and may soon lose their guitars and their songs. Puerto Rico is now a land of beggars and millionaires. In 1917, Puerto Ricans were granted US citizenship, but there was a catch. They couldn't vote in US elections, but they could be drafted just in time for the United States to enter the First World War. In 1920, the US imposed this, the Jones Act. It mandates that any goods shipped between two US ports must travel on vessels that are built in the US, owned by US citizens, and crewed by US residents. A ship can transport goods from Santiago, Chile to Miami, but if it wants to pick up more goods in Miami to bring to New York, which is the most economical thing to do, it would have to transfer everything to a US-owned ship. Puerto Rico is right next to major shipping routes. The logical way to get goods there would be for cargo ships to stop on their way to the mainland US, drop some stuff off, and pick up new stuff. But because of the Jones Act, ships dropped their goods off in Jacksonville, Florida. Then, 4 US shipping companies who monopolized this route and were convicted of price fixing jack up the prices before sending those goods to Puerto Rico. Shipping a container from the US East Coast to Puerto Rico on a Jones Act ship costs about $3,000. Shipping that same container to the Dominican Republic right next door on a non-Jones Act ship costs $1,500. The Jones Act inflates prices across the island where people earn a third of the mainland wage. This also makes Puerto Rico's goods more expensive to export, making them less competitive. The Jones Act costs Puerto Rico $1.4 billion a year, and that might be a low estimate. The nearby US Virgin Islands are exempt from the Jones Act, and goods there cost half as much as in Puerto Rico. After the US systematically dismantled Puerto Rico's agricultural sector, the lush, green, fertile island now imports nearly all of its food from the United States. Food in Puerto Rico costs twice as much as it does in Florida, and now about 40% of Puerto Ricans are estimated to be food insecure, 4 times the national average. Now, you may be wondering, if this law is so bad, why doesn't the US Congress just repeal it? Well, lobbying groups for American shipping companies have a lot more influence over Congress than Puerto Ricans who have no political voice. During the 1930s and the 1940s, the United States brutally suppressed Puerto Rico's independence movement through massacres, the criminalization of the Puerto Rican flag, and the arrest of thousands of Puerto Ricans and the murder of independence leaders. To quell dissent, the US government collaborated with anti-independence groups to enact limited reforms.
In 1952, the colonial status was modified to become the Commonwealth, a free associated state. Under the Commonwealth, Puerto Ricans can elect their own legislature, but the laws passed in Puerto Rico can be overturned by the United States Congress.
These measures, though, did not grant real sovereignty. The island remained a US territory. It was not allowed to become a state, and they still couldn't vote in US elections, and they still can't today. After World War II, global sugar prices collapsed. Puerto Rico, one of the poorest places in the Caribbean, had to radically transform its economy. In the 1940s, they started Operation Bootstrap, eliminating all corporate taxes to encourage US investment in order to industrialize the island. This triggered a massive influx of American businesses that set up factories to benefit from extremely cheap Puerto Rican labor, with tariff-free access to the US market and no tax bill. Puerto Rico rapidly industrialized, turning into a hub for manufacturing garments, pharmaceuticals, chemicals, machinery, and electronics. Between 1950 and 1971, per capita income rose by over 400%. Illiteracy was largely eliminated, and life expectancy jumped from 46 years to 70 years. In 1976, the US Congress brought in Section 936, which allowed these US companies to repatriate all of their profits back to the US tax-free. Puerto Rico became one of the world's leading producers of pharmaceuticals and still is, generating billions in profits for American firms. But this industrial boom came at a terrible cost. American pharmaceutical companies use Puerto Rican women as test subjects for unapproved contraceptive drugs without their consent. At the same time, American eugenicists pushed for the mass sterilization of Puerto Rican women.
As part of a plan to reduce the population problem on the island.
By 1974, 1 in 3 Puerto Rican women had been sterilized, many against their will.
So common is the method that it is simply known as la operación.
What's wrong with sterilization and what has been wrong in the way it's been done in Puerto Rico is that very often women have not been informed.
42% of the women working in one factory outside San Juan were found to have been sterilized.
Puerto Rico had the highest sterilization rate in the world. Meanwhile, the island was poisoned for profit. Puerto Rico became riddled with over 500 Superfund sites. Superfunds are toxic sites filled with chemical waste. Companies like AbbVie, Merck, Pfizer, and Upjohn dumped toxic chemicals like carbon tetrachloride, chloroform, and acetonitril directly into the soil and water, while the US military used Puerto Rico as a testing site, leaving behind napalm, Agent Orange, and depleted uranium. Residents of the island of Vieques have a 20% higher cancer rate than the mainland US. Children born near these Superfund sites suffer from higher rates of leukemia, seizures, learning disabilities, and neurological damage. Puerto Rico's transformation stunned the world. Countries like Ireland and Singapore looked at Puerto Rico's rapid industrialization and took notes. They studied how the island attracted foreign investment. They saw how manufacturing and tax incentives could fuel an economy. But there was one huge difference. Ireland and Singapore have sovereignty. They can control their own economic policies. As a colony, Puerto Rico couldn't. For example, they couldn't repeal the Jones Act to make themselves more competitive or to make prices on the island lower. Puerto Rico can't make trade deals with other independent countries. They can't even hire or lower the minimum wage because that's set by the US Congress. Ireland and Singapore kept much of the wealth they produced. They reinvested it to create better jobs, to improve infrastructure, and to develop new industries. Puerto Rico couldn't turn this system into genuine economic development. This system simply used Puerto Ricans as permanent, low-wage labor for US corporations, improving their global competitiveness. Since Puerto Rican firms didn't get the same tax benefits, they also couldn't compete with US firms. The profit created by Puerto Rican workers drained out to the United States. US corporations extracted $334 billion in profits between just 2008 and 2017. Puerto Rico is one of only 3 places in the world that lose more than 30% of the income generated within their territories. The other 2 are Equatorial Guinea and Iraq. In 1996, Bill Clinton and Congress ordered the phase out of Puerto Rico's tax exemptions and set them to expire by 2006. Around the same time, the United States signed the NAFTA and CAFTA trade agreements. One of Puerto Rico's key advantages has always been that it has tariff-free access to the US market, but NAFTA and CAFTA extended tariff-free trade to other countries in the region with much lower wages, erasing Puerto Rico's competitive advantage. The impact was devastating. Thousands of factories closed and hundreds of thousands of Puerto Ricans were left jobless. The economy collapsed. Desperate to cut costs around 2009,
they've hiked sales taxes, corporate taxes, and income taxes. Utility rates are up dramatically. Some water bills have doubled. And to cut costs, government workers have been laid off, their retirement benefits cut sharply.
But these austerity measures weren't enough. The island simply didn't have the cash to continue to pay for basic services. Unlike an independent country, Puerto Rico, who uses the dollar, can't print more money. They can't restructure their economy, and they can't borrow money from international financial institutions like the IMF. Puerto Rico did, however, have bonds. Bonds are essentially an IOU sold to investors with a promise of repayment plus interest. Since 1917, Puerto Rican bonds have been unique. They are triple tax exempt, which means they have no federal, no state, and no local taxes, which makes them extremely attractive to investors. Even as Puerto Rico remained in a deep recession, Wall Street investors continued to buy more and more Puerto Rican bonds. They felt extremely secure in their investment because in 1984, the US Congress quietly passed a law that made it illegal for Puerto Rico to declare bankruptcy. Investors assumed that they would get paid no matter what. As the 2008 financial crisis hit, Puerto Rico's economy continued to nosedive, and the government issued more and more bonds just to cover basic expenses, and their debt was beginning to crush them. For example, in 2011, Puerto Rico sold $1.1 billion in bonds, of which $850 million was used to pay previous debts. In 2017, they raised their 7% sales tax to 11.5%, making it the highest sales tax in the United States. And every single cent of that tax went to paying debt. By 2017, Puerto Rico's debt had skyrocketed to $74 billion, or $123 billion, including pension obligations. Wall Street, knowing that Puerto Rico had limited options, was extremely predatory with the loans they offered. A huge chunk, about $37.8 billion, of that $74 billion debt came from capital appreciation bonds. These are essentially the payday loan version of bonds. The original principal on those loans was just $4.3 billion. The remaining $33.5 billion is pure interest. In 2014, Puerto Rican bonds were declared junk, and the island lost the ability to borrow any more money. In 2015, Puerto Rico tried to pass a law which would allow it to restructure its debt. The US Supreme Court struck that law down, and so the economy continued to crash. On June 28, 2015, a debt repayment bill of $58 million was due. Puerto Rico couldn't pay it. The governor was forced to publicly declare the debts are not payable.
And let me put this very clear. We are out of cash.
As Puerto Rico spiraled deeper into crisis, vulture funds swooped in. Vulture funds are firms that specialize in profiting off financial collapse. They buy a country's debt for pennies on the dollar from bondholders who have written it off as a loss. They then drag the indebted country into court, almost always in New York, to demand full repayment, squeezing massive returns from crippled economies. Vulture funds have infamously drained Greece, Argentina, the Congo, and other indebted countries of billions. The investor Paul Singer of Elliott Management, known as the Doomsday Investor, sued Argentina and won a 1,380% return on their original investment. In the war-torn Congo, in order to collect $10 million worth of debt that he bought, Singer started seizing about $400 million worth of the poor nation's assets. In Peru, in the year 2000, as their president Alberto Fujimori fled charges of corruption and human rights abuses, Paul Singer offered him a private plane to escape on, but first, he had to transfer $58 million from the nation's treasury to Singer, which he did. In 2015, Puerto Rico proposed a bill to the US Congress asking them to allow some of their public corporations, like the island's power authority, to declare bankruptcy. This would give the island some breathing room by allowing it to restructure about a third of its debt. Even some of Puerto Rico's creditors agreed with this, thinking that it would free up some cash to pay back the rest of the debt. But the vultures wanted every last cent. These funds were already making huge donations to the Hillary Clinton, the Chris Christie, and the Marco Rubio presidential campaigns, alongside lobbying other politicians. The calls came in, and the bill died. After this, the vultures started buying up even more Puerto Rican debt. Forbes reported that in 2015, these vulture funds controlled nearly 50% of Puerto Rico's debt. In 2016, to ensure that creditors got paid, the US Congress passed PROMESA, which imposed on Puerto Rico a fiscal management and oversight board, an unelected, unaccountable board whose only mission was to get Puerto Rico back to repaying its debts and back into a position where it could borrow money. It's known locally as La Junta because the board has absolute power and can overrule any Puerto Rican law. La Junta's 7 members are handpicked by the US president with no input from Puerto Ricans. Despite being imposed by the US Congress, it is Puerto Ricans who will foot the $1.5 billion bill for La Junta. La Junta's executive director earns $625,000 a year, which is about 30 times the median Puerto Rican household income. Many of the people assigned to La Junta have connections to the financial world, many of whom helped to create the debt crisis in the first place. Now their job was to extract every last cent from working Puerto Ricans for the next 40 years. To ensure that Wall Street and the vultures got paid, La Junta imposed a brutal austerity program on Puerto Rico that hiked tolls, water, and electricity costs, lowered the minimum wage, cut labor protections, and removed sick days, slashed education funding, which led to mass school closures, gutted pensions and healthcare, cut infrastructure funding, and restricted access to food assistance. Puerto Ricans already tried austerity in 2009 and 2010. It only made things worse, forcing more Puerto Ricans to leave to the US, shrinking the economy even further. The way out of economic decline tends to be growth and investment, not cuts. La Junta, however, insisted on driving down costs and prioritizing faster debt repayments, especially to vulture funds, all while Puerto Rico rotted away.
You have to evacuate, otherwise you're going to die.
Hurricane Maria, a Category 4 storm, winds of at least 155 miles.
Category 5 with sustained winds of
Hurricane Maria
260
slamming
kilometers
into
per
the
hour.
island, and as you heard, one official saying the island is destroyed.
I am begging anyone that can hear us to save us from dying. If anybody out there is listening to us,
this morning, harrowing accounts of survival are emerging after Hurricane Maria's devastating blow to Puerto Rico.
Roads, now rivers, homes demolished. 4 million residents here are without power, 100% of the island. Officials warn it could be months before electricity is restored.
Vino el viento, se llevó todo el zinc, se llevó la casa con toda la pertenencia, todo lo que había dentro.
The hurricane, they say, was a problem. The greater tragedy is the lack of government action.
There's a lot of old people here in Puerto Rico. They need help. You know, it's no, we can't let them die. We can't let them die.
I hate to tell you, Puerto Rico, but you've thrown our budget a little out of whack.
On the 20th of September 2017, Hurricane Maria slammed into Puerto Rico, burying entire towns. The island's infrastructure, crippled by years of austerity, collapsed. 500,000 homes were destroyed or damaged, and the entire power grid was destroyed. The federal government's response was slow and inept. President Trump refused to waive the Jones Act until the 28th of September, which delayed the response and increased costs.
So why hasn't the government issued a waiver for the so-called Jones Act, as it did to help Florida and Texas recover from hurricanes?
We have a lot of shippers and a lot of people people that work in the shipping industry that don't want the Jones Act lifted.
When it was finally waived, it was only for 10 days. 9 days after Hurricane Harvey hit Houston, FEMA had approved $141.8 million in aid. 9 days after Hurricane Maria hit Puerto Rico, FEMA had approved just $6.2 million. The United States was slow in deploying helicopters and hospital ships for weeks, while victims of the storm fought to survive one of the deadliest hurricanes in American history. Abandoned communities in Puerto Rico had no power, food, water, gas, or medicine. People were forced to drink water from toxic Superfund sites. Ordinary Puerto Ricans came together in brigades to clear roads, deliver food and water.
Along the way, we come across a caravan of more than 100 volunteers, all church members, who are traveling across the island distributing food and water.
Meanwhile, FEMA, the US military, and the local government failed to reach isolated communities for weeks. It took a full year to restore electricity to the entire island. 2 weeks after the disaster, President Donald Trump visited Puerto Rico and infamously tossed paper towels at hurricane victims. As thousands of Puerto Ricans were fighting for survival, he said Puerto Ricans want everything done for them. After Hurricane Harvey, Trump told Texans,
To those Americans who have lost loved ones, all of America is grieving with you, and our hearts are joined with yours forever. We are here with you today. We are with you tomorrow, and we will be with you every single day after.
After Hurricane Maria, Trump tweeted at Puerto Ricans, his fellow Americans, "We can't keep FEMA in Puerto Rico forever." FEMA usually stays in disaster areas for years. Trump said this just weeks after the disaster, while people were still searching for their missing loved ones. Hurricane Maria killed over 3,000 Puerto Ricans. The hurricane didn't kill most victims though. The deaths came from a systemic collapse that followed. Ambulances couldn't reach the injured, unsafe water made people sick, and communities went months without electricity to power medical equipment or safely store medicine like insulin. The vultures began to circle again. The firm GoldenTree bought millions in Puerto Rican debt for 15 cents on the dollar in the aftermath of Hurricane Maria. They'll make about $160 million off that investment, which Puerto Ricans will pay for. After Hurricane Maria and the series of earthquakes in 2020, Puerto Ricans were just trying to survive. While they were distracted, La Junta moved to privatize all of Puerto Rico's public assets. Tolls, ferries, PREPA, which is the island's power authority, were all handed over to private corporations, with no vote, no oversight, but with massive price increases. In 2021, Luma Energy took over Puerto Rico's energy grid under a 15-year contract that required no investment from Luma, but required PREPA to pay Luma $125 million a year. Luma fired experienced workers, dismissed union contracts, and raised energy rates 7 times. Despite Puerto Ricans handing over hundreds of millions of dollars to Luma, outages are now longer and more frequent than they were under PREPA even after Hurricane Maria. Half of the island went dark on New Year's 2024, soon after a price increase. This is the price of electricity in the US over the last 10 years. This is Puerto Rico. Puerto Ricans pay around double the US rate for electricity. This is a major obstacle to economic recovery. High electricity rates drive up business costs, they drain household incomes, and they make basic survival difficult.
Hace 8 meses que estamos sin luz, no tenemos agua, estamos prácticamente abandonados, porque nadie ha venido a agencias de gobierno, no ha venido nadie. Necesitamos el servicio eléctrico porque yo soy asmático, mi hijo es asmático. Ella es cardíaca, diabética, necesita la energía eléctrica para el medicamento, para la insulina.
Puerto Rico's energy grid is based on oil and gas, but the island has no oil or gas, forcing it to import fuel on expensive Jones Act ships. Solar and wind energy are abundant on the island. After Hurricane Maria, communities with solar power had electricity for months, while everyone else was in the dark.
We were extremely happy to learn the solar system in Casa Pueblo was intact. We were the only place in town with power, and we were able to be a source of energy for the community.
There is a massive movement on the island demanding to rebuild a grid based on renewables, which would create a more reliable and safer energy grid while reducing costs, creating jobs, and helping pay down the debt. As of 2025, only 7% of Puerto Rico's grid is renewable because importing oil and gas is far more profitable for American energy companies, so the grid is being rebuilt on the same expensive, unreliable fossil fuel system that has already failed. Hurricane Maria devastated Puerto Rico's public education system, causing hundreds of millions in damage. After the storm, locals rushed to help clear away the debris and save books and equipment. Governor Ricardo Rosselló and La Junta rewarded them with massive layoffs and closures, shutting down over 670 schools. Only 800 schools remain open. Families were forced to move to closer schools, which were now overcrowded and underfunded. As Puerto Rico's public education system was dismantled, for-profit charter schools were forced on the island. Charter schools take on fewer disabled and poor students, they have lower graduation rates, and they force families into debt at much greater rates. Charter schools do, however, benefit people who own Puerto Rican debt. Apollo Education Group, a for-profit school corporation and target of many federal investigations, owns Puerto Rican debt. Puerto Rico's education system has been dismantled on an island where over 50% of children live in poverty, cutting Puerto Rico's future off at the knees, forcing many families that want a good education to leave the island. Unlike for-profit schools, the University of Puerto Rico has the best graduation rate on the island. With 64% of its students coming from low-income backgrounds, the UPR is vital in raising people into the middle class. Rather than rebuilding this crucial asset, La Junta slashed its budget by 50% and raised tuition by 300%. This, despite the fact that research has shown that every $1 million invested in the university yielded a return of $1.6 million. Enrollment has plummeted, and fields critical to Puerto Rico's recovery, medicine, engineering, and law, were gutted. Its neurosurgery program lost accreditation due to a lack of funding. Puerto Rico used to have the best healthcare outcomes in Latin America. Its public healthcare was free to nearly everyone on the island. In 1993, the governor Pedro Rosselló privatized Puerto Rico's public healthcare system, much like how his son Ricardo Rosselló sold off Puerto Rico's education system. The results have been disastrous. Puerto Rico pays into Social Security and Medicare like any US state, but when it comes to healthcare funding, Puerto Rico receives a fraction of what US states receive. Insurance companies frequently refuse to reimburse already low-paid doctors. Puerto Rico pays to train specialists who then leave for better-paying jobs in the States. In 2009, there were 14,500 doctors on the island. Today, there are 9,000 to serve 3.2 million people. Puerto Ricans suffer higher rates of asthma, diabetes, heart disease, HIV/AIDS, and preterm births than any US state. Between 2001 and 2025, Puerto Rico's population shrank by 15%. By 2050, it's projected it will decline by 40%. Hundreds of thousands of working-age adults gone, driven out by economic collapse, austerity, and rising costs. They leave because they have no choice. Puerto Rico is aging. Waiting rooms of underfunded clinics overflow with anxious seniors, and the few young people who stay behind struggle to find financial stability. They have fewer children than almost anywhere else on Earth. This shrinks the tax base, stunting any possible economic growth. More people of Puerto Rican descent live on the mainland US than on the island. Puerto Rican workers earn much less than their counterparts do in the States, despite a high cost of living and fewer federal benefits. Even after Bill Clinton's repeal of Section 936, Puerto Rico still offers massive tax breaks to corporations. Manufacturers, mostly big pharma companies, extracted $100 billion in tax breaks from 2017 to 2023. But now the government is begging the ultra-wealthy to come live on the island. A law, Act 60, offers wealthy Americans tax exemptions from federal and local taxes, capital gains tax, and taxes on passive income. This offer is not available to locals.
Yes, but crypto millionaires are flocking to Puerto Rico. That's because if you spend at least half the year on the island, you're free of taxes on capital gains. What a deal.
The result is that the ultra-rich have swooped down to Puerto Rico to buy cheap land from Puerto Ricans devastated by Hurricane Maria and years of austerity.
So we had a big hurricane in 2017, and that was amazing for the island.
Brock Pierce, crypto visionary and Bitcoin billionaire, relocates to Puerto Rico in the aftermath of Hurricane Maria.
I only casually observed Brock Pierce's entry into Puerto Rico and the claims that he was going to make it into a crypto utopia. But I'm well aware that the reason to go to Puerto Rico is for the tax benefits.
I'm clearly not here for those economic incentives. The stuff that I'm interested in are the things like helping Puerto Rico. I'm living a life in service.
This has created hyper-segregated communities of ultra-wealthy tax dodgers and the eroding of the Puerto Rico millions of normal, working people once loved. The purpose of Act 60 was to create jobs, but the result has only been a handful of cleaning, hospitality, and other low-paid, unstable jobs. Puerto Rico's beaches, legally public and open to all, are now being privatized by wealthy crypto investors, hedge fund managers, and real estate tycoons.
Locals say Aguadilla Pier Corp, the developer behind the construction site, has been building illegally on 3 areas near the cave, saying they've cut down a protected forest and let sediment from their site pollute the water below.
Locals are being pushed out by expensive hotels, short-term rentals like Airbnb, and foreign investors hoarding properties.
And while those Americans seek out a tax shelter in Puerto Rico, they're driving up the price of rent by 600%.
The infrastructure that failed with deadly results during Hurricane Maria is still desperately underfunded. Infrastructure continues to deteriorate while exclusive hotels spring up and billionaires demand docking space for mega yachts. In San Juan, where Puerto Ricans earn $30,000 a year on average, the median home listing is over $900,000.
I'm moving to Puerto Rico. So I feel like people are wondering why Puerto Rico, right? Yeah. Like how random.
Yeah.
Taxes. It's one vertical.
Yeah.
It's one.
Figures like Logan and Jake Paul have moved to the island to dodge taxes while abusing the local environment. Billionaire vulture fund investor John Paulson, who made billions off the 2008 financial crash and the collapse of Greece, and who owns millions in Puerto Rico's debt, is using Puerto Rico's distress to buy land and resort properties on the cheap.
Why did Paulson decide to buy up all this land?
It was cheap. Prices were plunging, so he could get it for pennies on the dollar.
The Puerto Rican government has used brutal force to crush any resistance to this scheme. Puerto Rico is now the 5th most unequal place on earth. For centuries, Puerto Rico's wealth has been extracted, its labor exploited, its people sacrificed. It has been a tax haven for the rich, a testing ground for experiments, and a dumping ground for toxic industries. When Puerto Ricans demand independence, they are met with American bullets. They live as second-class citizens with no political power, pushed out of the homeland they clearly love. Today, under La Junta, Puerto Ricans have fewer rights, while people work multiple jobs just to survive, paying high taxes for crumbling infrastructure, failing hospitals, and a vanishing education system. Rather than investing in Puerto Rico in finding ways to bring the displaced home, the government has brought in tax dodgers who price locals out of their own homes. This kind of parasitic exploitation will soon destroy its host. Puerto Rico is being emptied, erased, and auctioned off. Without change, we will watch something terrible happen in real time. A Puerto Rico without Puerto Ricans. But you probably haven't heard much about this because the media rarely covers stories like this with the depth they deserve, which makes it hard to keep up with everything happening in the world. That's why Nebula is such a crucial space for creators. It allows series like War Room by Real Life Lore to exist, a monthly briefing that covers the most significant geopolitical updates, from ceasefire deals to conflicts in Myanmar, Syria, and beyond. Nebula even has an entire carefully curated news section to keep you updated. These kinds of series will almost certainly be suppressed on other platforms, but Nebula makes them possible. Nebula has a ton of exclusive and wide-ranging content, like The Logistics of X, which unpacks the complex systems that keep our world running, like how search and rescue teams operate. There's also Abolish Everything, a hilarious comedy debate show where champions roast pet peeves they want banned from society. Or dive into Red Atoms, an engrossing series by Real Time History that explores the Soviet nuclear program, its societal impact, and disasters like Chernobyl. Real Time History, one of my favorite history creators, releases all their videos early and
Greater Antilles like a stone lion at the entrance of the Caribbean. It guards the doorway to the Greater Antilles like a... In the northeastern Caribbean sits a mountainous island called Puerto Rico, or as the Taino called it, Boriquen meaning land of the valiant Lord. Between Hispaniola and the Virgin Islands, it guards the doorway to the Greater Antilles like a stone lion at the entrance of the Caribbean palace. Before Spain imagined it, before the forts and cannons, this island was Taino land. Hammock swung, cassava baked, and diplomacy was handled not by lawyers but by the noble ball game, a sport where honor was on the line and nobody yelled at referees because there weren't any. In 1493, Columbus returned to the Caribbean on his second voyage, bigger ships, bigger expectations, and definitely bigger flags. The Taino carried diplomacy, tobacco, and curiosity. The first contact was polite, as first meetings often are, before history decides otherwise. Spain settled Puerto Rico in 1508 by Juan Ponce de Leon, the same Juan Ponce de Leon who later associated with the Fountain of Youth expedition to Florida 1513. Spain found something, gold, not mountains, not rivers glittering like El Dorado, just enough to make kings impatient and accountants hopeful. For gold, the Taíno were forced into encomienda, a polite word for labor without the freedom to say no. Death arrived not first by sword, but by disease, coercion, and hunger. Then came rebellion. Early Spaniards in the Caribbean often claimed God protects them, Christians go to heaven alive, death is temporary, souls are eternal, saints resurrect, and Christ resurrected after 3 days. To indigenous listeners, this sounded less like theology and more like we are immortal. Europeans didn't intend it that way, but cross-culturally, that's what was heard. Enters Guaybaná, also known as Aguaybaná II, better known as Aguaybaná el Bravo, or Aguaybaná the Brave. Upon Aguaybaná the First's death in 1510, his brother Aguaybaná the Brave became the most powerful chief in the island. He was troubled by the treatment of his people by the Spanish. He began to doubt their claims about immortality. To test Spanish claims of divine power, the Taíno conducted a very literal experiment. They drowned a Spaniard named Diego Salcedo. If he resurrected, perhaps the newcomers were gods. He did not resurrect. Conclusion, mortal. Experiment complete. Salcedo wasn't captured in battle. He was invited on a routine trip, escorted to a river, and subjected to what may be the first peer-reviewed drowning experiment in Caribbean history. Christian doctrine holds that Christ rose after 3 days, so the Taíno waited 3 days to observe the body. Nothing happened. With mortality confirmed, Aguaybaná II rallied the Caciques, chiefs, and launched the first recorded war in Puerto Rican history in 1511. Historians note that the war lasted roughly 2 years, though Aguaybaná II himself was killed during the conflict. His direct leadership likely lasted about a year, but the rebellion continued after his death. For nearly 2 years, the Taíno fought through rainforest terrain while Spain deployed steel, horses, gunpowder, and mastiffs large enough to qualify as nightmares. The rebellion eventually collapsed. Spain claimed victory. In 1512, Spain passed laws of Burgos to protect Taíno from punishments. By 1520, the Taíno presence on the island had almost disappeared. With Taíno numbers collapsing, Spain imported enslaved Africans, not for sugar, but for mining, cattle, and transport. In Puerto Rico, slavery fed soldiers, not Europe. Where Britain built sugar estates, Spain built walls and forts. Puerto Rico became the shield of the Spanish Caribbean, protecting treasure fleets heading from Mexico and Peru. Santo Domingo had gold, Haiti had sugar, Jamaica had profits, Puerto Rico had mountains and soldiers. The island produced small farmers instead of plantation aristocrats. In 1542, Spain issued the new laws that freed the Taínos as a last resort to save the dying Taíno people, but it was too late. By 1600, there were no more full-blooded Taínos. By the late 1700s, Puerto Rico was a tri-ancestry society. They consist of Spanish fathers, African and Taíno mothers, a mix of free people of color, peasants, and small planters, a Caribbean recipe with fewer slaves than Jamaica and more free people than Cuba. In 1804, when Haiti abolished slavery and defeated France, every slave-holding power trembled. Spain trembled enough to redesign policy. In 1815, Madrid opened the doors to European settlers, Canary Islanders, Italians, Germans, French, Corsicans, and Irish through the Royal Decree of Graces. The whitening wasn't about appearances. It was a calculated counter-revolution policy. Before 1815, Puerto Rico was majority mixed and minority white. After Spain panicked over Haiti, it whitened the island with immigration, paperwork, and marriage. By 1898, the white population went from 20% to 60%. And Puerto Rico became the most loyal of Spain's Caribbean colonies. Whitening did not erase Africa or Taíno from Puerto Rico, it merely renamed them. Modern DNA ancestry breakdown 60 to 70% European, 15 to 25% African, and 10 to 20% Taíno ancestry. Puerto Rico has the highest Taíno DNA today because it never became a sugar empire. The mountains protected the peasants preserved the mothers, and the mothers carried the ancestry into the future. Puerto Rico used the same Iberian Spanish caste system as the Dominican Republic, Cuba, and much of Spanish America, but again, it operated differently because of demographics plus economy plus mixing. So the categories existed, but the social enforcement was looser and the boundaries more permeable. Spanish caste system, everyone gets a category. British system, 2 categories, white and problem. Puerto Rico, categories exist, but everyone's cousins. In the 1800s, Puerto Rico experimented with coffee and sugar. Coffee thrived, sugar survived. The island produced more beans than kings. Slavery existed but never dominated. Puerto Rico lacked the extreme plantation industrial brutality seen in Cuba and Saint Domingue, but it was still slavery. Haiti proved Europeans could be defeated, slavery could be destroyed, and self-sovereignty could be built all from a Caribbean island. Dominican Republic proved Spain was beatable. Puerto Rico staged its first independence rebellion. On September 23, 1868, patriots unfurled the flag and declared the Republic of Puerto Rico. The rebellion collapsed within hours, but ideas live longer than governments. Puerto Rico's 1868 rebellion fought for both independence and abolition. Independence was the political goal. Abolition was the moral and strategic partner. It wasn't Haiti-style emancipation war or DR-style political war. It was an alliance of both goals against Spain. Puerto Rico claimed independence before Cuba. While PR had a 10-hour republic, Cuba had a 10-year war. During Cuba's war, Spain was pressured by the United States after 1865, not through direct commands, but through U.S. abolition, making Spain look archaic, U.S. diplomatic and moral influence in Caribbean politics, U.S. support for Cuban separatists. Spain in 1873, fine, we'll end slavery, but no independence that costs extra. Caribbean, nice try, empire. And in 1873, Spain finally abolished slavery, one of the last acts of its Caribbean empire. Puerto Rico became the test case to remove abolition from the table without conceding independence. Meanwhile, Cuba was fighting Spain for independence. The USS Maine was stationed in Havana Harbor to protect U.S. interests, but it mysteriously exploded, and Spain was blamed. In 1898, the United States declared war on Spain. After the Spanish-American War, Spain ceded Puerto Rico, Guam, and the Philippines to the United States. Puerto Rico was not asked for an opinion, only a surrender. When the treaty was signed, Puerto Rico passed from one empire to another like a monopoly property nobody landed on voluntarily. Spain abolished slavery in Puerto Rico partly to avoid losing Puerto Rico to separatism and U.S. influence. Yet 25 years later, the U.S. took Puerto Rico anyway. The U.S. kept the Spanish defensive logic intact. Puerto Rico became a strategic naval base for the future Panama Canal. The Four-Acre Act invented the term unincorporated territory, a category vague enough to require annual interpretation. In 1917, Puerto Ricans became U.S. citizens, and the island became key in the First World War recruitment and maritime law. In the 1930s to 1950s, Puerto Rican nationalism collided with U.S. colonial policy. Pedro Albizu Campos was the president of the Nationalist Party of Puerto Rico. He was arrested for seditious conspiracy, officially for plotting revolution, but in truth for leading Puerto Rico's independence movement. He was the kind of leader empires fear, educated, disciplined, charismatic, and unbuyable. Albizu was not jailed for bombs, but for ideas. The United States did not fear his rifle, it feared his republic. In 1937, Puerto Rican Nationalist Party organized a peaceful march to commemorate the abolition of slavery in Puerto Rico by the governing Spanish National Assembly in 1873 and protest the arrest of Pedro Albizu Campos. Police fired into a peaceful nationalist march in Ponce, killing 19 and wounding over 200. None of the civilians were armed, and most of the dead were reportedly shot in their backs. It was called the Ponce Massacre because all the synonyms were too gentle. In 1950, uprisings in Jayuya and Utuado declared the republic again. This time, the National Guard deployed planes and bombed Jayuya, making Puerto Rico one of the few places in the Americas bombed by its own government. In 1952, Puerto Rico became a commonwealth, a political invention halfway between colony, state, and riddle. Commonwealth is what you create when no one agrees on independence or statehood, and Congress refuses to pick. After 1952, the island's central question became independence, statehood, enhanced commonwealth. Referendums came, referendums went. Congress observed politely, Puerto Rico did not win independence, but it won something harder. It stayed itself. It kept its language, its flag, its mixture, its music, its mountain towns, its diaspora, and its humor. Few islands can survive 4 centuries of empire and still sing in their own voice. 5 centuries produced a people forged from Taino resilience, African endurance, Spanish militarism, and European migrations, European fathers, Taino and African mothers, the genetic signature of a soldier labor colony. Puerto Rico never became the sugar baron of the Caribbean. It became something rarer. A fortress surrounded by farmers, ruled by empires, and carried forward by people who refused to disappear. Empires arrived expecting gold. Puerto Rico delivered resistors, coffee, political debates, and a status question that no empire has solved in 500 years. Across the Americas, mixture often came with fracture, caste against caste, color against color, revolutions against republics. Puerto Rico did something rarer. It turned conquest into kinship, labor into lineage, and 3 continents into a single people who call themselves Boricua. That is Puerto Rican pride, the pride of continuity.
Man, oh man, oh man. That first video, I think I seen it a while back. But yeah, it was kind of weird, man. You know how the industry basically, between the industry and politicians, it's all about greed. It's all about greed, you know. And who gets effed on the whole situation? Just the regular people. The regular people that, you know, are trying to make a living, take care of their families, and do what they have to do to survive, you know. Whether it's the American dream or their dream, no matter what country you live in or where you're from, to have that, you know, picket fence and that nice house and, you know, a good job, you know, a porch you can sit on and sit in your rocking chair or recliner or whatever, you know, at the end of the day and say, yeah, this is it. This is, you know, where I want to be, what I want to do, and I'm happy and content. But when you're getting screwed over by, and I hate using this word, the man, you know, it's like pushing a car uphill. It ain't gonna work. It just ain't gonna work for you. Puerto Rico was full of people, you know, and now it's like everybody's leaving. Everybody's leaving because it's just not there. You know, it's not putting money into their pockets. So they come over to, I guess you call it the mainland, you know, the United States, to make a better living, make better choices, and keep grinding, you know. It's insane. It's insane. I have a ton of family on the island, and basically they're doing okay. You know, they're doing real good. Damn, Hawaiian. Yo, 40 acres. That's nice, man. That's a farm. That is a farm right there. He said 40 acres. Yeah, I bet you Hawaii's got that nice, good ass soil too. Like, you could plant a seed and in 3 days you got a 6 foot, tree in front of you. That is sweet, man. That is sweet. Yeah, I'm in Western New York. If you're Hawaii, if you're familiar with Canada, Niagara Falls, I'm in that area. And right now there's probably a ton of snow out there. Matter of fact, let me check out a traffic cam. Yeah, there's in some parking lots there's snow that's 25 foot high from being plowed, you know. Let's see here. Oh, I can't share it if I can't see it. Damn it. Do. Man, I got up this morning. I mean, I got up earlier and made some music videos and was bored as hell. So I just came out here. Yeah. Yep, Hawaiian, Niagara, New York. I'm like 50 minutes away from it in a small town. You can see some of the snow in the parking lot. The roads look great. The roads look nice. Compared to what me and Tennessee were looking at a few days ago. Hawaiian, you see Therapy Radio? We were both on this live looking at these street cams. And it was a snowstorm and the roads were covered and cars sliding all over the place. Me and Tennessee, which is Therapy Radio, we're looking at the roads and people were driving crazy. Like that road right there, it's 30 miles an hour and people were doing like 40, 45, SUVs, pickup trucks. They were hauling ass. They didn't give a shit. It was crazy. North Carolina. That's where my daughter and son-in-law live with my grandkids and my great-granddaughter. Yeah, man, Hawaiian, I'm so tired of the damn snow, man. It's it gets like how the hell do you say it? It gets like tiring, you know? the shoveling, the snow blower, all that, man. Even though I do a great job on my driveway, because I don't know, I have ADHD, I think, where I gotta edge it up like I'm doing my lawn. But yeah, it just gets tiring, man. You come in, you smell like exhaust fumes from your snow blower. Your back hurts, your legs hurt, whatever. Even though my snow blower has that, driving gear on it, it's just like, man, you clear it all off, you make it look good, and then, come inside and the weatherman's like, so tomorrow, chance of snow, 8 more inches, and you're like, what the? It just drives you insane. It's like a job. Oh, hey, man. Happy birthday, Hawaiian. Happy birthday. Yeah, right? Right? Tennessee, the weather's like, F your snow blower. Here's some more for you. Bam. Yeah, for like, what, 2.5 weeks, Tennessee, man. I've been fighting this cold, man. It seems like I'm at the end of it, thank you. Seems like I'm at the end of it, man. It's just crazy. Just came out of nowhere, man. I got bottles of what? Dayquil, NyQuil. I needed some Vicks, which I forgot to get, man. Vicks will cure anything, man. Vicks is in every Puerto Rican household but mine. Damn it. And I know better. I should have had some. Vapor rub. Yeah, that gas station right there, Hawaiian, that you're looking at, it's open 24/7. I don't even think it closes on the damn holidays. I'm gonna have to check. Yeah, I can imagine, Tennessee. Allergies ain't nothing, man. I mean, they're crazy. There ain't nothing to be messing with. Wow, Hawaiian. Yeah, I tried to give up. I gave up a lot of fast food a long time ago, man. A lot of fast food. I just rather eat meat and food I can make at home rather than what's out there. It's insane some of the YouTube videos that you see that, oh, they put this in the chicken nuggets and this is what you're getting in your burger and this is what your bread is they're putting in your bread, and it's like, man, it's just one big circle. You know, whatever they're putting in your foods, man, it's like part of the pharmaceutical industry, you know? Like, yeah, put that yellow number 16 in his food. Don't worry, we got a cure for it once he starts getting a lump on his shoulder, you know? And it's like one big circle, man. You know? And they make billions and billions of dollars, man. There was a good ass movie / documentary that I seen about Percocet, you know, how it started and where it, you know, took the nation and the addiction. And when it's gone, you know, your body goes into shock, you know, and if you don't have it and you can't fight it or rehab yourself from it, you're going to the street and you're getting whatever you can get, you know, to cover that addiction. Oh, I will. I will, Hawaiian. I'll check it out. Man, I bet you it's beautiful there. The weather. I bet you it's a beautiful island. Hang on 1 second here.
This is a place you've probably never heard of. Molokai doesn't usually pop up on the tourist radar when you're planning a trip to the Hawaiian Islands, and they are more than okay with that. Truth be told, I'd never heard of it either until an episode of Anthony Bourdain's Parts Unknown, and from that moment on, I dreamed of experiencing this place for myself. And to dive a little deeper, I'm heading to the Halawa Valley, which is said to be home to the earliest settlement in all of the Hawaiian Islands. Good morning. From the island of Molokai in the islands of Hawaii, I just flew in last night from the island of Hawaii, and I'm only here for a few days, but I want to make the most of it. I have been dying to experience this place. It's a little bit lesser known than the Oahu's or the Maui's, and that's exactly why I wanted to come here. So, full disclosure, when the Tourism Board of Hawaii invited me to come and experience these islands, they said, which two do you really want to go to? And the first one that popped in my mind was Molokai. I've only heard things about it. I've only heard it's more remote, and they're really trying to hang on to the community aspect of the Hawaiian culture. And I really respect it and appreciate that. Hopefully this video doesn't affect them in a negative way with more people coming. Let's hope it just sheds light on a beautiful community in a remote place in the world. And I'm ready to meet up with a local guide. He should be here any minute. We're going to go explore. Let's go. I'm greeted by my local connect, Greg Solatorio, one of 6 children of Filippo Solatorio, the last living Hawaiian descendant to be born and raised in the Halava Valley, who still resides here. Greg follows in his father's footsteps as the caretaker of this land and has taken on the responsibility of carrying on their traditions and cultural practices.
You know, so this is where I live. This is my lifestyle.
This is beautiful.
So traditional as possible. So I get a lot of people says, you Hawaiians still live in grass shacks? I says, we live in shacks, but not grass anymore.
You use the resources that you have available, right?
Oh yes, my whole place is recycled.
Now, most visitors come here for a quick cultural overview and a hike to a beautiful waterfall at the back end of the valley. But I was fortunate enough to be invited to stay overnight and spend the entire day with Greg and the family to experience just what a day in the life is really like here. And that all starts with a traditional welcoming ceremony.
So in our culture, well, I don't know if anybody's ever taught you what this is called. You know what this is?
Conch.
Everybody knows it as a conch. In our culture, we call this the pu.
The poo.
P-U.
Okay.
So this is our means of communication. This is our telephone. So today in modern times, what people see this used for is to run down Waikiki to light torches. Start hula shows, start luau's. This is not what it was used for. This is our means of communication. So if I use it to start parties every day, when I call for help or send messages for emergencies or signals, nobody believes me. Why? Because it's like crying wolf.
Yeah. Someone just thinks there's a happy hour.
Exactly. So this is how we announce arrival. So before we went into anybody's district or community, for instance, say if someone wants to come over from Maui on a canoe, they stop their canoe outside my bay 1.5 miles out. 1.5 miles around this island belongs to the people of this island. That is how we feed our families. The same with every other island. Anything outside that 1.5 miles is free fishing, like international waters for anybody.
Okay.
So pretty much like countries.
Yeah.
So now, if someone was to come in on their canoe, they stop the canoe 1.5 miles out, they blow.
Yeah.
If you get a blow back, you're allowed to come into my bay. If you don't get a blow back, you stay out there and you blow till you blew in the face. You're not welcomed in. Not a good day to come in. So it's like a telephone call, but also like ringing the doorbell. That is how it went in our culture. Today, nobody practices that because everybody's got cell phones, not shell phones anymore. You know?
Yeah.
So that is what we're going to do right now is we're going to go through protocol. The first blow is going to recognize our arrival. It's going to let my cousins and family members know I have guests coming through today, and my dad is going to blow back
Okay.
to welcome us in.
E o ana kala Filipo ang opuna kani o kumele na ho pi ame e se pa kana o mata ho kua o halava me te loha mai tana au mai ta aina a la via mai a kama kani o halava iti ka puli mai na la kuku o kala ni kaula e pa he mai e kumu mai loko e kumu mai loko.
Filippo Solatorio welcomes us. I bring a gift, as should anyone arriving in someone else's home, and we greet each other the traditional way.
Yep, now me and you. Now you stand on the inside of me. Now you're officially welcome.
Once inside, I spend the first part of the day just listening and asking questions. I'm embarrassed by how little I actually know about Hawaiian culture. But Greg and his father are happy and honored to shed light on my ignorance. We're just sitting here going over some of the history, going over some of the heritage and culture of this incredible valley. And the number one thing I have to correct before I move on is I am not saying I thought I was doing a good job by calling it Molokai. But immediately, Greg tells me.
Molokai, not Molokai.
Molokai. Molokai.
And what Molokai means is the twisting and gathering of ocean waters.
I had no idea Hawaii was once all independent islands, and that one king, Kamehameha, united them all with help from British backers. I had no idea that they never wanted to become a territory, yet alone a state.
They forced the queen off of the throne at gunpoint, made her sign a treaty, and that is how we became part of the United States today. So that is why there's big animosity between Hawaiian people and the United States, just like the Indians and the United States. Same thing with our native people. Same thing that happened to our native people or happened to the Indians happened to our people here. It just, a lot of the people in the when I grew up, I didn't learn about this because in my history books in school, it says Queen Liliuokalani willingly signed the treaty to the United States government. That is all. But in 1993, they found the Queen's journal.
Really?
And in her handwritten journal, told the story of how she was overthrown, put in jail, and her palace, she was imprisoned in the palace. She could not leave the palace grounds. 1893 to 1993, that is when our sovereignty movement started. Wow. The Queen's story was found. A journal that was supposed to be destroyed by the US government.
Wow.
So there's a lot of history in our culture and things which a lot of people don't understand because visitors don't learn this part about our culture. A lot of visitors who come here to Hawaii thinks it's just a beautiful tropical you-go party place. But there's more to Hawaii than just the beaches, the scenery, the luau's, and the hula shows. You know, to really see Hawaii is to see the people.
Yeah.
And how do you see the people? Is to learn the culture.
And just when I thought
Now,
I couldn't take in any more information, we get up and start in on our traditional chores for the day. Taro root, a main staple food for people in the Hawaiian Islands and in particular this valley. For breakfast, lunch, and dinner, this was a truly traditional cornerstone of survival. We dig up, deroot, wash off, and set it aside to be boiled for a poi pounding and tasting tonight. From here, we make our way down to the ocean, where I attempt to learn the art of net fishing for the first time.
All right, we picked some taro, learned a lot about local culture, and now we're gonna go test our strength, test our luck in the waters. We're gonna go try to catch some fish for dinner.
To no surprise, the second main ingredient to many Hawaiian households in the past was fish. I just didn't realize how much technique goes into the traditional way of catching them.
There's a lot to this fishing stuff. Oh, yeah!
Well, Greg manages to snag one fish in just a few tosses, so we call it a win and move on.
Mullet. Yep, it's Australian mullet, they call this. But this is just a mullet.
You fry that up?
Yep.
Next up, it's on to some bigger game. The Halawa Valley is filled with deer and feral pigs, so we climb up onto the mountain ridges and try our luck at hunting for our own dinner, just as Greg's ancestors would have done, only with a few weapon upgrades.
After fishing, heading up to the mountains.
Wavy strawberry guava.
Good? Oh my God. What is that called?
Wavy.
Vaivi?
Yep, called strawberry guava.
That's one of the best fruits I've ever had in my entire life.
Right out in the room. That's what everything's feeding on right now.
Oh my God.
This little loop of the tree right across the red dirt, your round green tree. Right next to them look like your tia.
Back at home, we cook up a venison tenderloin and teriyaki sauce, and then set that aside to prepare the taro root we had harvested earlier in the day.
Most people know it as poi.
Boy, yeah.
What we are making is actually called pa'iai.
Pa'iai.
Pa'iai is our taro root grounded down with as least water as possible. So it's a more firm, doughy, sticky consistency.
Okay.
Most people who tried poi to get a more bland, watery kind of product out there.
Okay.
Nobody ever gets to try the taro root prepared this way and cooked this way because not too many people do it like this anymore. It's a lot of water. The only thing we're going to use the water for is to stop it from sticking to the board.
Okay.
My water, I'm going to wet my board. I'm going to what my board and what we're using the water for is, or the vai, which is water in Hawaiian. Now, all those I say we're pounding. Taro, we're not really pounding. Now I start my grinding process. We dampen our stove. Yeah, so this is what we call the la'i or the taro leaf, like I said.
Okay.
We use it for wrapping our guests, for cooking. And what it does is it strips the back spine right out of my leaf. My leaf is flexible, doesn't rip, doesn't crack, doesn't break. Now we would have this.
Explain it to me. What do we got? We got fish from today.
So we went thrown it today, and what we caught is some mullet, some fish.
Okay.
And what we have is some pa'iai, which is our taro root. And this is what a traditional Hawaiian meal would be. Every single day, we would eat fish and poi for breakfast, fish and poi for lunch, fish and poi for dinner. And that is what we would eat in our culture here in this valley here on Molokai.
All right, let's eat some of this.
Give you an idea, this is the fish eye. We love fish eyes in our culture. So I'll eat the first fish eye for you to let you guys know we're not joking. Fish eye. So,
got a crunch to it.
Mm-hmm. So, there's a second fish eye. So, your turn.
My turn.
Yep, put that whole thing out and bite down on that thing and suck it down.
Fish eye from the fish we caught today.
Mm-hmm. Protein.
That's protein.
Yeah, so you eat some fish, you eat some poi. So the saltiness and the flavor of the fish goes into the taro that you're eating.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. That's why we eat it as a combo. So, so fish and poi, which makes a perfect combination.
That's some delicious meat.
And who knew such a little guy like this had
Yeah.
so much meat? Yeah,
That's a powerful meal. You got the fish here. The saltiness of the fish rubs off on the poi. And I'll tell you what, this is, you got to get used to the consistency. It's the mix. If a chewing gum and a potato had a baby, this would be it.
Pretty good way of putting
a
it.
little bit gummy, but yeah, it tastes like a potato. True.
Can I get more traditional than that? That is what we eat with our everyday meals: fish and poi.
We are finishing off the day with some fresh venison, teriyaki venison, and I gotta say, it's been an awesome day. When I first heard about Molokai and I wanted to come here, this is what I envisioned, this is what I hoped for, and Greg here made it happen. His family has been on this area in this valley and this island for as long as history can write it. And I got a very little taste of the culture, of the heritage here, and it completely blows me away because I've never experienced it. You only know Hawaii as hula dancers and luau's and nice beaches and all-inclusive resorts, but there's so much more to this culture, there's so much more to this place, and I'm happy just to have the opportunity to see it and experience what little of it as I could.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
In our culture, we say mahalo nui loa. That means thank you very much.
Mahalo nui loa.
And
Thank you, brother.
Ole pilikia, no problem.
No problem. All right, we're gonna grub on this venison, this teriyaki venison that we just whipped up.
Wish you guys are here.
It's a great day. Learned a little bit about fishing, learned a little bit about hunting, learned a little bit about pulling out the traditional food, the taro root, turning it into a paste, having it with traditional fried fish. This is just a good day. It was a very, very good day. That's it. Hope you guys liked the video.
Ahui ho. Until we meet again. To the island for just see hula girls, Mai Tai, and not really learn about the culture. Just enjoy yourself and spend your money and go home. Then that's where Waikiki and all those places.
Right.
Yeah, but if you're actually here for learn the culture, the real place you're gonna find the culture is in our homes. So, like I said, all the stuff I normally take you do, most people don't ever get to see this stuff, but my own personal friends that come and visit me all the time.
I appreciate it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So a lot of people would see stuff that you would show, which normally most people never ever get to see those things which you see today.
Yeah, Hawaiian. That was pretty cool, man. That's a real island right there. You know, and great culture, man. It's cool that you know the dude, Greg. Tennessee is because you're a caveman like me. Yeah, I love my meat burned. Burned. Some people are like, sir, how would you like your steak? Medium rare, make it bloody. Me, I'm like, hell no. Burn that thing. Burn it. Yeah, but tuna fish, Hawaiian, I'd be tearing up some tuna fish. But, you know, it's interesting what you said earlier about the Hawaiian island with, you know, sugar cane and, you know, all its natural resources. And then huge corporations like Dole coming in there and, you know, taking over, you know. Damn, Hawaiian, that sounds good as hell. Loco Moco. I'll tear that up. 2 scoops of rice, 2 hamburger patties with eggs, with brown gravy all over it on the rice, too. Yeah, hell yeah, that sounds good. That almost sounds like a meal you get down south or something like that. But yeah, the rice with the hamburger patties and 2 eggs. Yes, sir. Hawaiian, what's the temperature there now? What is it here? Oh, it's not up yet. I can't see the temperature. Tennessee, what's it doing in your area? It's probably around 50 where you're at, Tennessee. Oh, okay. 69. It's probably like, I have no damn idea. Shows up at random on my computer screen. Hey Siri, what's the temperature outside? 14. Today's high will be 29. Right now, Siri, stop. Today's high will be 29. The low is 13, but it's 14 right now. Siri, thank you. Goodbye. Yeah, Hawaiian man, if I ever go, I'll know exactly what I'm talking about. I'll be like, yes, I'd like some Loco Moco, please. A plate of Loco Moco. But wait, Tennessee. Wait. The gravy Hawaiian, is Tennessee got that right? He said it's white gravy? Or is the gravy brown? Some kind of beef gravy. White gravy to me is some kind of Alfredo sauce. Ah, there you go, Hennessy. It's brown gravy. Oh, okay. I'm like, I had to reread that. I'm like, white gravy? Yeah, that's a cool plate right there. I like that. White rice, brown gravy, eggs, and what did I miss? What did I forget? I forgot it already. Oh, the 2 hamburgers. Yo, that is a slamming plate right there, man. That 2 hamburgers, eggs, white rice, and brown gravy. That is slamming right there. The only thing is white is the rice and eggs. Oh, you guys don't eat the yolk? The yellow part? Hawaiian, there's a famous restaurant here, slash diner. It's called Nick Tahoe's. And they have what they call a garbage plate, which you can get with either hot dogs that are red or white, made by the company called Swaggos, or you can get it with the hamburger. It comes with mac salad, meat sauce, French fries, or is it hash browns? Or hash browns, and pork and beans. Yeah. Let me see if I can find a picture of it. Yo, my wife hates it. She hates it. Wait, okay. Yeah, potatoes. All right, let me share this tab. I gotta go back to the StreamYard. Okay, what? Oh, I'm right here. How do I enlarge this? Come on. I mean, you guys could see it. See that meat sauce? And then you got the hot dogs, you got the potatoes, you got some onions, and the mac salad right there. Yo, you eat one of these, man? It's fire. You're taking a nap after this. Look, he's got the bread there with a drink. Yeah, there's the place right there, Nick Tahoe's. It's been there for 100 years. You can get onion rings, the French fries, or these potatoes right there. Let me see. Yeah, there's a one right there that's just got regular French fries. They got everything: hamburgers, hot dogs, French fries with the ketchup and meat sauce on them. Is this the hamburger one? No, I don't see hamburger on there. I think I see. Yo, this guy, he put way too much on there via ketchup and yeah, it's famous. This is a meal that after you go out to the bars at night, they're open. And you go in there and you pick out and you get one of these bad boys to quench your, Oh wow, Keanu Reeves is Hawaiian? And so is Jason. Never knew that. Never knew that. You know what? Let me look it up. Hang on a second, Hawaiian. Where am I at? I'm on YouTube. Yo, this guy's hooking it up.
Make an updated version of Loco Moco with new tips and a new recipe for the gravy. Loco Moco is a classic and ultimate comfort food when it comes to Hawaii. The concept of the dish is simple and very filling. Eating one serving is enough to give anyone a Kanak attack. Here are the following ingredients. The rice can be interchanged with fried rice or brown rice according to your preference. First is making the patties. In a large bowl, add the ground beef, Worcestershire sauce, seasoning salt, garlic powder, and black pepper.
Right.
Mix it by hand. If you don't like getting your hands dirty, just use some disposable gloves. Start forming the patties by grabbing a handful of the meat. Roll it into a ball, then press down on it to flatten it out, and then smooth out the edges. Try to make the patties large and about 1 inch thick, since the patties will shrink when fried. Repeat the same process until there are at least 4 patties. Next, prep the gravy by adding the beef stock, shoyu, Worcestershire sauce, ketchup, and cornstarch to a medium-sized bowl. Mix it well until all of the cornstarch has come off of the bottom. Set aside. Start frying the patties on a pan over medium heat. Let it fry for about 5 minutes on each side or until it is well done. You could also cook the patties on a grill if you like a smokier taste. After the patties are done cooking, set it aside on a plate lined with paper towels to catch any leftover grease. These couple of steps are optional if you don't want onions and mushrooms in the gravy mix. Using the same pan, melt a tablespoon of butter. Add in thinly sliced sweet onions and let it cook for a couple of minutes until the onions are starting to look slightly opaque. Then add in the mushrooms and let it cook for a couple more minutes. Melt in the last tablespoon of butter to give it more flavor. Then add in the gravy mix. Let it cook until it begins to thicken and turn darker. Set aside. Next, whip up a sunny side egg by frying it in a separate pan. Melt a slice of butter, then crack in the egg and let it cook until the inner whites of the egg has solidified. Lastly, assemble the loco moco by having the bottom layer lined with cooked white rice. Add 1 cooked patty on top of the rice, then generously pour on the gravy. Top it with the egg and season it to your tasting, and garnish it with green onions. Serve it hot and enjoy this onolicious loco moco. If you enjoyed this recipe, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell notification so you don't miss any upcoming recipes. Mahalo!
Hawaiian. Yo, that should be illegal, man. That plate is freaking awesome. That is awesome. Yo, I could eat one of those every other day, man. That shit it looks so good. It looks so good, man. That combo right there. Especially the white rice with the gravy and onion mix, man. Plus mushrooms. Yeah, Tennessee, man. That plate was awesome, man. That right there, imagine 2 hamburgers, 2 eggs with the white rice and gravy. I'm passing out. I'm full. I need to lay down. Moco Loco. Hey, Hawaii, man. Thanks for turning us on to that, man. That's a recipe right there you can cook at home. Right here in the States. Man, I'm going to try it this weekend and then post it up on my YouTube. See if my wife will eat it. I know she will. And then I'll be like, babe, this is a Hawaiian loco moco. Yeah, because all the ingredients in there, she likes are fire. The easy access patties. Yeah. Man, it was amazing. That's an amazing meal right there. I like it. That is an amazing meal. The hamburger with the rice and the gravy, man, alone. But then you throw the egg in there. Oh, I got you, babe. Guys, I'll be right back. And I'm back. My wife is making a smoothie. Yeah, I need a new blender, man. That thing sounds like it's grinding gears. I can't remember how long we've had it for, but what was it? Before Thanksgiving, I just got a new toaster because we had our toaster forever. And it got to the point where you had to turn it all the way up to, excuse me, I'm trying to avoid a sneeze. You had to turn it all the way up to 6 for it to toast your bread. I'm like, nah, I can't wait that long. I cannot wait that long. Time for a new toaster with my cheap ass. And then now the blender, it sounds like it's grinding gears. I know, right, Tennessee man? It's that I'm just like, we'll use it till it just stops working. But, man, at any time I can go out and get one, but I'm just too damn cheap sometimes, you know. But you let my vacuum break? Because I love vacuuming, man. There's nothing like vacuuming. You let my vacuum break, and I'm the first one at Target to buy a brand new vacuum cleaner as soon as they open. Good morning, sir. Good morning. Where your vacuums at? I'm the first one there, man. I don't know what it is with me and vacuuming, man. I think it was my upbringing or something. I just can't stand dust on, the top of the door, frame or nothing. I think the vacuum is the best thing ever invented. You got the dust in the corner of your ceiling / wall. Not in my house. I'm on that shit. I am on it. Like housekeeping. Right. I mean, sometimes I go to that extreme. Hot wiring it. I got a brother, Tennessee man. He it's weird, man. I helped him move one time, to his new house. And I mean, it wasn't weird. It was weird to me, but it was like normal to him. I was helping him pack actually in Rubbermaid containers. People that move, man, use boxes. He had all Rubbermaid containers, like 50 of them, all different sizes. And they were all like pre-marked, like bathroom, kitchen, first bedroom, second bedroom, third bedroom, basement. And two things. His laundry room, he had like 20 bottles of Tide, massive boxes of dryer sheets, Clorox, the quart bottles, like 20 of them, and it was even crazier when we did his bathroom, he basically had the same thing, like 25 boxes of toothpaste, 15 bottles of mouthwash, all these packs of toothbrushes, and it's just him and his wife. I should say, just him and his wife. And I'm like, damn, man, you buy shit like you got 6 or 7, 8 kids, you know? It was crazy. Crazy. Yeah. Man, the kitchen was the same way. Like dishwashing detergent, 20 bottles, you know, of Dawn, the huge bottles. Brand new sponges, scrubbers, 10 boxes of SOS, you know. Oh, they were both like that. It was normal to them. You know, most people buy month to month, you know. Oh, we need some dishwashing, you know. Man, don't even get me started on paper towel and toilet paper. They had enough to open up a whole store. They had enough to open up a whole store. Remember how COVID, when you were running, people were buying paper towel and toilet paper like crazy? I knew if I ran out, I knew exactly where I'd be going, to my brother's house. Yo, let me get 4 rows. All the stores are out. Yeah, man, my brother's got this weird like buying habit, and basically, I mean, it's yeah, it's great and good, you know, and more power to him. You know, he doesn't have to go out all the time or every month or whatever. You know, that's his thing. Good for him. God bless him, but I think I don't know, overspending, but it's his money and it's his life and he's happy doing what he does. But, you know, an average person might buy like 2 bottles of Dawn dish detergent because you know throughout the month, oh, I'm going to need 2 of these to get my dishes done. Not 20 bottles. I was explaining it to my older sister. I was like, yeah, I was helping, you know, our brother pack. Me, who buys 20 bottles of mouthwash? You know? She's like, that's how he is. That's how he is. Right? Right, Tennessee? Nah, I was watching some of it, Hawaiian. I was watching some of it, but the madness, you know, the arguing and all that, I can only take so much. Even with the news, you know, I just kind of like lately I've been staying away from it. You know, I've been staying away from a lot of it. Yeah, I seen some clips where her and some, you know, Democrats, you know, in Congress were yelling at each other and stuff like that. And I'm like, man, I can't watch any more of this. I watched a great movie the other morning at 4:30 in the morning. I'm watching Netflix. Ben Affleck and Matt Damon It's called The Rip. R.I.P. The Rip. Great movie, man. Great movie. Whoever wrote this movie, and I didn't even see it in the credits. I should have slowed it down or double checked. I think I walked away once the movie ended. But great movie, man. It keeps you in suspense, and closer to the end, you're telling yourself, oh, did you Tennessee? Yo, that movie was awesome. Yeah, man, it's I mean, no matter what party you belong to, it's all a cover up and lies on the left, the right. Shout out to Cuba del Bronx, 7741, who has a great channel with the VIP panel. And they have great discussions on his channel. And, they talk a lot about, politics, what's going on out there in the world and in the streets and stuff like that. And the great thing is it's all done with respect, adults talking to adults. There's none of that, madness when you're on his channel. Basically, like, oh, F you and SMD and no. I mean, you can agree to disagree and you can have civilized conversations. And that's what you get on Cuba del Bronx's channel, 7741. So subscribe to his channel and tell him Rich Martinez sent you. It's a great channel, and it's all done, with respect and, dignity. And, you go up on his panel and you can have, great conversations up there. That's what I like about his channel. He has a great channel. Great channel. And a great bunch of people that join, his panel. That, basically go up there and have great conversations. Hawaiian, I'm gonna have to check that out. New Tyler Perry movie just came out today called Joe's College Road Trip on Netflix. Yeah, I have Amazon Prime. I gotta cancel it, Hawaiian, because I don't know, it just seems like a majority of those movies on there I've seen already. But I just keep doing my Netflix over and over, watch the movies on there. Tennessee, you got the munchies? You better go make a Loco Moco. Oh, is he? Medina's brother. He's crazy. He's always got sex on his mind. Or young women. Oh, yeah, man. I haven't had a meatloaf in a minute, man. In a minute. Hey, you know what, Hawaiian? Trying to figure You're like 3 hours behind, right? You're in that mountain time? See, what is it there? 1 in the morning? No, 2:23? Am I right? Trying to picture the map in my head. 2:23? Where you're at? Hey Siri, what time is it in Hawaii? Oh, okay. 12:24. I thought so. Yeah. That's a good plate right there. Meatloaf with potatoes and green beans and corn. You eat something like that, you'll be able to pick up a car. I have to go to a wake today. Sad, my brother-in-law passed away. He was a good dude too, man. My brother-in-law, he was a good dude, man. Took care of my sister. Him and my sister only had one child, my niece, who basically turned into a successful businesswoman, her and her partner. You know, they have a multi-million-dollar construction company. Yeah, they got like 60 employees and oh my God, how many vehicles, vans and pickup trucks and company cars and salesmen, and they do construction, remodeling, they build new tracks, track housing. You know, besides building the house, here's what they do. They will build the house, side it, windows, and the roof, and that's it. They're out. Then the developer brings in a company that does the inside, the heating, the cooling, the everything else, you know, the drywall, the painting, the flooring, the kitchen, the tub and tile, all that. It's great that they just build the house, basement, siding and windows, and the roof, and then they're gone. They're gone. They came up with a great concept. You know, they bid on that only. They bid on that only. They don't do the whole installation and drywall and the mechanics of the house with the plumbing, electrical, the heating, you know, the bathroom remodel, the kitchen, what color do you want, this room, that room. Nope. That's all they do. That's all they do. They have a commercial team and then they have a residential team that does roofing and siding. I'm sorry. The residential team does roofing. Then they have another team that does siding. Like that. Yeah. Yep. Sergeant Ruiz, how are you? Good morning, sir. Are you in the States or are you still beyond? All right, cool, Tennessee. Yeah, they have a great company, man. Great company. And she basically, her and her partner, they basically started with, they bought one abandoned zombie house that had 3 units in it, all 2 bedrooms. Oh, okay. Nice. Tokyo. Nice. Good for you, man. Good to see you. I'm just up here ranting. Yeah, that's how they started. One zombie abandoned house. Actually, it was, caught on fire. It was like the corner of the house, the back of it caught on fire, so it needed that whole part restructured and some of the roof back on that end. And they started just like, they remodeled it. That's cool. They remodeled it, started renting it. Once they started generating income, they just went after another one, and then another one, and then another one. I think they got up to 12. And then what happened was they had a chance to buy a pre-existing company, and they went after it and bought it with all the connections and everything like that, and they did. And I mean, they went from having 20 employees to 60, and just like doing it to where they set up all these divisions, 3 divisions in their company: the commercial, the residential, which is 2 parts. And then on top of that, they basically just set it up to like, this is what we do, and this is all we do. You know? And like I said, a developer will come to them and say, hey, we want to put 16 houses in this new tract on this land that we bought. And they're like, okay, this is what we do. We built the house. We do the siding, windows, and roof. Porch, steps, all that, hand railings and everything. But the inside, you have somebody else do that. And they get it done. It's amazing. They get it done. I mean, my niece, she went to college to learn how to read blueprints. She's smart as hell. Yeah, and they're kicking ass. I mean, I said it earlier, they just do the basic and then they're out. They move on to the next track and the next one. They leave that whole inside part to somebody else. And it's amazing because I think the developers are getting a great price to not say to them, or, we'll just find, a company that'll take our models and do the whole thing. The outside, the inside, all that, the mechanics, the plumbing, the electrical, the drywall, the kitchen and bath designs. It's amazing a developer doesn't say, okay, I got these 5 models. I want you to build all 5, using these spaces, 16 spaces, use these 5 models here, then use the same 5 models here, and the same 5 models. And, with the last one, put it here with this model. Do the whole thing, inside, outside, everything. And I don't know who came up with this idea. Like, no, this is all we do. We're just going to do the house, the siding, and the roof, and the windows, and we're out. And it's working. It is working to where they're so successful. I find that amazing. I just find that amazing. And like I said, it must be a great price because they just keep moving on the track. Building. And then, like I said, they got the roofing division that they do residential, and they got the siding division that they do residential. And I mean, people are like, oh, it's, the market's low and nobody's building, and they didn't even flinch. They were busy. They were busy. I mean, sometimes I go to their spot headquarters, and them guys over there are just running in and out, grabbing tools, aluminum benders and all that. They're always busy over there. Good for them. Shout out to her. Shout out to her. But it was her dad who passed away. It was my niece's dad, my brother-in-law, who passed away the other day. My sister's husband. And it's sad. He was a good dude. Worked his whole life, and retired. And lived a good life in his retirement age, But he passed away. I always had the nice cars too. Freddie always had the nice cars, man. Every couple of years he would trade up, Thank you, Sergeant. He would trade up. He would definitely trade up. Always had the nice cars. They were always Oldsmobile. No matter what it was, Oldsmobile Cutlass, Centurion. I can't think. What was the other one? Yeah, he always loved them Oldsmobiles. And I think he worked like a place called Rochester Products for 34 years. They did car parts for GM. Yeah, it was a big industry here, the automotive industry in Western New York. Delco, AC Delco, and Rochester Products, they're huge for the automotive industry here, making car parts. Ah, yes, the Buick Skylark. Yes. Man, you know what, Sergeant? I think I had a Buick Centurion. I can't. It was, yeah, and it had to be a 70 something, man. And that car was like a boat. Yo, I mean, the back seat, was obviously that bench seat, but it was like a living room back there. It was huge. Man, cars back then were like 25 foot long, you know? Yeah, the Skylark. Didn't the Skylark resemble kind of like the Nova, the Chevy Nova? Similar, two-door? I'm trying to think. I'm going to have to Google those later and take a peek. It just sounds like they were similar in some way back in the day. But yeah, those cars, man, back in the day were simple to work on. You can sit right inside the engine bay, and work on them. Yeah, I thought so. Sergeant. Yeah, they were two-door, man, and they were jacked in the back too. No matter if it was a Skylark or the Nova, they were a little bit high on the backside. Looked, had that racy look, to it. Yeah, back in the day, man, to work on your car, oof. It was like so easy. Right. Yeah, the Lincoln Continental and the Cadillac, the Bills. Big cars. Yo, the Lincoln Continental 4-door. Back in the day, that was like the car today that would be cool for like even the Cadillac, like like Lyft or Uber, You'd be able to get like 6 people back there. Right. I'm telling you, man, the cars back then were long as hell and wide as hell, you know? And they had those huge gas tanks too. It's like $30, $40 to fill. The tanks were just big compared to, you had a 25-gallon tank, compared to like now it's like a 12-gallon tank, 13-gallon tank, you know. Yeah, and the trunk space in those cars, awesome. Awesome. Right. I mean, if you had, the power steering basically, man, made those cars perfect. I mean, if you had great alignment with those cars and obviously they had power steering and great tires, they were just easy to maneuver. Yeah, you had to get used to them, because they were huge, but and it's Sergeant, it's amazing you're talking about those classics because sometimes I'm subscribed to this one channel. Where the hell are they at? North Carolina? Maple something, is it Maple Woods Motors? I can't even remember. But I'll get notification like, hey, we got some new cars in. And I I'll take a peek, and sometimes they'll get like a Lincoln Continental or Cadillac or something like that, you know, and I'm like, man, look at that thing. No rust, no nothing, you know, because it's from the South, you know. And that's the thing that killed a lot of these cars up here in Western New York before the car wash industry was so popular. And there's one on every corner or every 3 blocks now, is the road salt, you know, from the winter. You know, these cars couldn't survive that, you know. Yo, the Pontiac GTO. Yeah, up here in Western New York, before the car washes became popular, Sergeant, road salt would kill a lot of the metal frame bodies, you know. It would definitely, you know, kill your paint, your yeah, I mean, even the snow would kill the color on it, you know, the paint. The salt would eat up your car. And it's crazy when you see cars that are up here and they're getting eaten up, if I'm saying it correctly, from the inside out. I've seen cars, metal cars like that. And you're like, what the hell? Yeah, from the inside out. Did salt get back there? Is that just the weather? You know, but up here in the north, you know, in Western New York, what was that? Wax and rubbing compound sold like hotcakes. You know, people would use rubbing compound on their cars to make it shine, and then throw a ton of wax on there before winter. That way everything just propelled off it. Everything just, you know, propelled right off it. You know, it's like, nah, I need my car to last. Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, I've seen that at a friend's garage. I'm like, yo, why does this look like this? He's like, Rich, can you believe it? It's like rusting from the inside out. He had to replace a door panel. I mean, he took off the door panel, had to replace a glass on a window on the driver's side. And he said, you see how rusty it is inside there. And it had to be either water, snow, whatever salt got into there. And I'm like, man, I'd be getting me a new door looking at this, you know? Yeah, the winter's brutal. They're brutal up here. I mean, and you know, as a whatever consumer, you want the roads plowed, you want them to put down salt. That way you're not sliding all over the place and everything, but that salt does have its effect on your, you know, vehicles. The environment, but what are you going to do? You got to have it. Yeah, Sergeant. I am here. Let me share this with you. I am. Let's see. I'm across the lake from Canada. Probably about, and I've said it before, 50 minutes from Niagara Falls. Yeah, and that's probably a gas station that's 2 towns over from where I'm at. And you could see the snow around the, gas station, the little snow mountains and everything like that. It is 5:49 a.m. and these people are probably on their way to work. Sometimes I'll just sit here and watch a lot of traffic cams and share this, on my channel and just talk, whatever. I've done snowstorms where the roads are covered, and in this area right here, I know well, because one of my sons lives in this area, and it's 30 miles an hour, the speed limit. And sometimes we were looking at this traffic cam, and you get, I think 2 Mondays ago, yeah, we had a snowstorm, and it was like 6:30 in the morning, and people were just flying through it. They're flying through the lights and everything like that. We seen a couple slide outs, people making a left-hand turn because they made the turn too fast. And, I basically said, like, man, I never want to look at one of these things and see like a traffic accident, you know? God forbid that happen, but yeah, I mean, the roads look beautiful now. You can see the asphalt, man, but they were covered. They were covered with snow. Wow, 7:51. Yeah, it's 5:51 a.m. here. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of traffic cams that work and some that don't work. Yeah, one time I was looking at these traffic cams and it was like 6:30 or 6, I'm going to say 6 a.m. And they were like now. I mean, yeah, it's almost 6 o'clock. Yeah, so 6 a.m. And it was slow. It was real slow. I mean, you could see the traffic. This traffic right here will pick up at 7 o'clock, 7 a.m. It'll pick up. The funny thing is that, man, I went to New York City and there was massive traffic. I took I looked at some cameras down in the Bronx that I found, and there was massive traffic down there. And I'm like, wow, what a difference, from New York City up here, how people are moving this early in the morning. Oh, okay. Yeah, Sergeant, there's I mean, a parking lot like Target, they have like 25-foot snowbanks, from all the plowing they've done. And if you look to the upper right, you can see the size of that car versus the snowbank that it's parked in front of. you know? Mile High, good morning, man. Salute. Toyota Honda. Wow, Mile High. Yo, Toyotas are crazy, man. That was the most popular car here. The Corolla? What was it? Toyota Corolla. And there was another Toyota Corolla. Man, it was like every other Puerto Rican had one. They love those cars. Yeah, Toyota was popular here. Then I think it went over to Honda. The Civic and the other one. Let me take a peek at this traffic. Where are you? See if I find another camera. Yeah, a lot of these traffic cams, they are not working. Yeah, this one's got water on it or something. It's another spot. That building with the lit up windows, that's a Tim Hortons. During that blizzard 2 weeks ago, you couldn't even see that building. And I think it was 6 or 7 a.m. It didn't even look like anybody showed up for work. Boss, I'm not coming in today. Let me see if I can find a different one. St. Paul and East Avenue. Oh, Avenue E. Clinton and Upper Falls. Yeah, it's almost 6 a.m. here, so a lot of these people are on their way to work. What? My high aluminum foil. Yo, you need to get a satellite or something. Man, I remember when this was funny as hell. When like Wi-Fi came out, I lived alone in one of my father's rental properties, a freaking four-bedroom house ranch. It was beautiful. That my family still owns it. And the only reason why I moved in there is because they had a huge pool and a really nice backyard. And my father didn't want my cousin to, take it. He's like, she's gonna ruin my house. You need to move in there. So I went from one of his one-bedroom apartments to the house. So this is like the beginning of Wi-Fi. And my parents had that DirecTV antenna, and they basically, they moved to a house that they built. And I'm like, to get Wi-Fi / cable, whatever, was like too expensive / I'm too cheap. I'm like, F it. Man, don't you know, through the USB port and the Wi-Fi like program that was in the laptop that I had, I connected it, somehow rigged it up to that satellite antenna, okay, that wasn't being used. And I was like pointing it towards the hospital, and I got a real low signal from there. But then I kind of like pointed it somewhere else. I have I think it was southwest. Man, and I got like 5 bars, and I was like, holy crap. Wherever that signal was coming from could have been like the street over or wherever, 5 streets away, but that signal was strong. I'd be using that shit up every day, being online, using it up every day. I was online. And this is before, people would lock their signal or whatever, or with a password. It was an open channel. It was an open channel. And sometimes like I had to wait because that person would have to like reboot their Wi-Fi. And I'd be like, damn, what the hell? My computer would tell me, you have no signal, you need to reboot your Wi-Fi. But it wasn't me, it was where the signal was coming from. So I didn't know if it was a business or residential or whatever. But yeah, I'm like, I had it for a long time like that. A long time. But now you can't even, now it's like, if you're not at McDonald's where there's an open, Wi-Fi signal or some kind of public library or something, you ain't getting in. You're not getting in without a password. But it was weird. I was aiming it towards the hospital to get that signal, because they had it. They had it for free. And yeah, which is definitely unsafe if you got, personal information in your computer and all that, but I don't know where I hit, man. If it was somebody's house or some type of business that was in the area that was open. Yeah, remember that Mile High? My boss had one like that. One of those huge, like 6-foot satellites in his office, in his yard back in the day when they first came out. When they first came out, they were huge, man. It's amazing how, they got with technology, obviously they got smaller, like, Direct TV or what's the other one called? Dish. Yeah. How they got smaller. And it's weird because they were again, they were, if you remember, guys, with Direct TV or Dish, you had the box and then you had the card with the chip in it that you used to plug in there. All right, Sergeant, have a great day, man. God bless you and God protect you. Mile High, if you remember with Dish or Direct TV, you had the box with the card that you would put in there, and the card had the chip on it. Way before those debit cards came out with the chip. And with that card, it would basically say, okay, your TV's programmed to this, and these channels and this sports package, right? But then there was people that would sell you cards that you'd have everything open. They were selling those cards for like from like $25 to $50. Yep. And then what happened is Direct TV or Dish would send a bullet through every once in a while, and it would kill your card, your whatever you want to call it, pirate card or whatever you want to call it. Yeah. And then you'd have to get a new card. And if it was under 30 days, the person that sold you that card would reprogram your card. Yeah, I've seen that happen. Mile High, I've seen that happen because that's where their signal comes from, like Southwest. I've seen that happen. It's like you either got to put it, over here or there or, here. And it's weird too, Mile High, because you have some satellites that are like on a fence pole, avoiding, that tree or somebody's house or something. Here you see that a lot, that they're on a fence pole or a 4x4, and the cable is ran underground, probably about 2 feet, with some plastic tubing. You see a lot of that here to avoid a building or whatever, or tree or something like that. Oh my God, Mile High. Man, you don't know how many times where I would get cable TV and just get the basic. And back in the day, I mean, when it was all analog, I'd pay somebody to go up on the pole to take like the 3 filters that cable would put on my, go up there, here's $20, go up there and take out the filters and reconnect my shit. Yeah. Pay somebody to take off all those filters and everything, and then you're just paying for basic cable. Henny, good morning, salute. Yeah, you're just paying for basic cable, man. Now you got HBO, Cinemax, and Showtime. Yeah, and then they became digital, and then that's it. they became digital, man. And, I mean, the technology has changed a ton, with cable and all those, companies. I mean, we have Spectrum, but they went through like 5 or 6 name changes, you know? And at one point, like years ago, they would give you $100 Visa if you canceled your subscription with DirecTV or Dish. They would take it off the roof, basically, give you $100 Visa card, but you had to be locked into a year of service with them. And people were doing it. People were eating that up. People were eating that up. A year subscription with them, guaranteed, $100 Visa, and you cancel your Dish or DirecTV service. And people were eating that up. You would literally see a cable guy open up the back of his van, and you'd see all these antennas in there. A bunch of satellites, small little satellites in the back of his, vehicle. Wow, that's amazing. Mile High, that's amazing. I mean, cool, get your copy, man. I don't know if you can hear me or not, Mile High, but I come from that era of antenna on your roof. The antenna on your roof, man. That's the era that I come from. I mean, we had it from Radio Shack. We had that huge antenna on the roof. I used to turn it to see what channels I can get. And then run outside and look at it turn. Yeah, I thought that was the coolest thing. It would only go from, let's say, on your antenna maneuver box or whatever, from like 12 o'clock, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way up to 11, and hit 12, and then go backwards. It wouldn't go, wouldn't go in a complete circle, only because of the wiring, the way the wiring was. Yeah, but it would go from 12 to 12, and then back from 12 to 12. We used to pick up channels in Canada. That was before they had, cable TV in our neighborhood. Yeah, we had ours on the roof with the, the pole attached to the chimney. And I mean, back in the day, we only had 3 channels. Bobby, good morning. We only had 3 channels. I'm sorry, 4. 8, 10, and 13, channel 21, and that was it. And then they came out with channel 31. So then we had 5 channels, which was cool. 5 TV channels. And then my father went to Radio Shack, and he's like, I want the best antenna. And they gave him this huge, like, 5-foot wide, 8-foot long antenna with the motor on it that was the size of a gallon of milk on a fence pole. Man, my father took that up there, hooked it up, drilled the hole in the side of the house. And and we got some more channels. They actually were coming from Buffalo and Canada. Buffalo and Canada. Yeah. And I think with all that, we only got as high as 13 or 15 more channels besides our local channels. Tommy, good morning. Salute. Yeah. Yeah. That was it. But once cable came, you had like 20 something channels. And then everybody bought into cable TV. You know, and then it went up to 50 and 75 channels and sport packages and pay-per-view and, you know. Right now, yeah, Tommy, yeah, definitely, yeah. Yeah. And you know what? It was last year, Tommy, that my wife came up to me and said, you know what? We need to get rid of cable. We'll just keep the Wi-Fi with the apps, and that's it. She's like, you barely watch TV. And when you do, you're just watching a movie. And I'm like, you know what, babe? You're right. We were spending like, I think it was like $89 a month and not even using it. You know? And she's like, take that box back. Yo, they were charging us for the box $25. And the package that we had, the channel package, $89. Plus $79 for the Wi-Fi. Over $200 a month. So it was like, nah, you're absolutely right. We need to get rid of this. I took it back right away. I'm like, yep, I'm here to return the box. And then they're trying to sell me a cell phone. I'm like, nah, man, I'm good. I'm good on the cell phone. Just give me my receipt and let me get out of here. And people at Spectrum, they make commission coming out of that office. They make commission. Yeah. Mile High, you're absolutely right. I mean, at one point, it was like, I think it was my wife who called Spectrum. Hey, why did my Spectrum go up? The woman on the other end had no answer. None at all. None at all. And I was watching a lot of TV, you know, and I'm just like, leave it. I'll pay for it. Leave it. But yeah, she notices that. But it was like, she had no idea. Customer service had no idea. I don't show an increase. Well, there's an increase in my bill by, you know, $26. Yeah, but we finally just got rid of it. All we have in our house is Wi-Fi. I mean, there's so many apps out there that, like, I just canceled the Amazon Prime because every movie that they have on there, a majority of them I've seen. I got the Netflix, which I just seen a great movie on there the other morning at 4:30 in the morning. I have no idea what's wrong with me. Hey, stop it. Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, The Rip. Oh yeah. Yeah. You know who did that? You know who's good at that? My high is my wife, Ivy. She is good at that. I mean, when we had Direct TV, she would tell them, like, we're not locked into any contract. She would tell them, like, hey, Spectrum's got this great deal for me. So either you hook me up or I'm going over there. And they would do everything in their power, man, to hook her up, not to lose her as a customer. Yo, she could play them well. She could play them well. Yeah, Netflix. It's Mile High. Check it out. Oh, you did? Yo, that was a great movie, man. The end really got me, man. Like, it just like all came together at the end. Man, I didn't know who to believe, who to trust, or whatever. I thought Matt was losing his mind. Yeah, that was crazy. That was crazy. You know what? It was even Mile High. It was insane what the cartel said. I mean, I'm like, wow, that makes a lot of sense. Said, no, we're not over 20 million, over $20 million. We'll take that loss. We don't want to mess with no killing no cop or DEA. No, we don't do that. They didn't want that heat. They didn't want that heat. They're just like, we'll take it as a loss. I mean, obviously they make billions a year, but yeah, I need to be quiet. I don't want to spoil it for people. But it was amazing the way that the dude from the cartel, the big guy, was explaining it to Ben and Matt Damon and that other guy. It's amazing the way he was explaining it. He's like, we'll take the loss. We'll take the loss all day. Thank you, Bobby. Yeah, it was a great movie, man. Great movie. Let me see if I could find a different traffic cam here. Oh, I should have just kept sharing it and went. Are you kidding me? This camera must have moved with the weather again. Share. I keep unclicking the share part. Yeah, this camera definitely moved with the weather. Because in your upper left-hand corner, that's a bank. And it used to be closer to the bank, looking at the bank. Right, Mile High. Exactly. Chicken feed. Yo, I mean, but the way he explained it made like perfect sense. He's like, man, we take the loss. No big deal. But to kill a cop or DEA, we don't do that. Not over money. We do not want that kind of heat. Yeah, it was, I mean, the ending was perfect, man. The ending was perfect. Great movie. Great movie. I need to find something else on there to watch. I should put the Netflix app on this computer. That way I could just check out some trailers with everyone. Tommy D, good morning, man. Salute to you. I'm just looking at this traffic cam, Tommy D. I'm casing out that building right there. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I shouldn't even say that. Now, this is sometimes I'll just get on here and look at 4 or 5 traffic cams when it's bad weather to see how crazy people are driving. Watch, the bad weather and huge snowflakes and all that. But what is it, 6:24? Yeah, some people are already on their way to work. I said that about casing a building and somebody jumped off. Somebody left the channel. They're like, oh, hell no, I don't want to be pinned to that. It's funny. It's like, yo, Rich is Puerto Rican. You know those people steal. Oh, thanks, Mile High. I'll check it out. Let me write that down because my old ass will forget. The highway. Man. Thanks, man. You know what, Mile High? I remember one time, man. Obviously, last year, I was smoking weed, and for like 1 hour, I looked back at the clock and I said, come on, man, are you serious? For 1 hour, I sat there and watched all preview trailers. Like, what am I going to watch? And I would watch the trailer. Nope. And then move to the next one. And I was out of my mind. I said, are you kidding me, man? Because I looked at the clock and I was like, are you kidding me? It was like one of those things that you couldn't find something to watch or seen it. Seen it. Nah, this looks boring. Nah, I'm not going to watch it. And then, man, I just had to make a choice. Either turn the TV off or find something to watch. And I can't even remember which one I did, but for 1 hour straight, I was just looking at trailers. Oh, there's another one. Thanks, Mile High. Yeah, isn't that the new Happy Gilmore #2? Oh, I seen The Dirt, man. Dude, I love that movie. All right, cool. I'm gonna write that Happy Gilmore. Thanks, man. Yeah, The Dirt, man, was a kick-ass movie. Yeah, dude, I had my sound bar every time they played music. I had my sound bar jamming. Dude, you give me another movie, I won't be on YouTube anymore. They should. My sweetie would be like, babe, are you going live? No, I'm watching a movie. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, on G'd Up Quinn. Anybody that knows him, he was doing this great either it was a movie review or a documentary review. And it was cool because you had like 5 or 6 people on his panel that were, reviewing movies after watching them or a documentary. And that was a cool time. That was a cool time. Oh, I'm definitely gonna. Netflix is great because they just got into the whole boxing thing. So there's some channels that rebroadcast, the boxing events. And I think it's awesome. I should try to do that one time. There was an app, Mile High, there was an app that a friend of mine gave me, and we got caught 3 times. We didn't get caught. I got caught. And my wife Ivy said, "You need to stop. You need to stop before they, cancel us or put you in jail." And I was like, "Don't worry, honey. I'll just play stupid." She's like, "Bro, you're being stupid. Stop it." I had this app that I got from a friend of mine. That whole thing like, "Hey, did you see this on pay-per-view?" And I'm like, "No, man, I don't have that, and I'm not paying $75 for this or that or whatever." He's like, "What? Dude, download this app right here, and it's whatever, www blah 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 blah.com." And I'm like, "Okay." I was watching killer movies, killer sports events on that. Ivy got an email from Spectrum. They were like, "We've noticed that on your Wi-Fi signal or cable, whatever, internet, that you're using this app right here, which is illegal under, section 5297359B. If you continue to use this, illegal app, we will take your, blah, blah away." So I'm like, "Okay, honey, I won't do it no more." Yepper, but I kept the app. So something came on. I don't know what it was. I can't remember. It was either a movie. You had to pay like, $29.95. You can rent it for 3 days. So I'm like, "Oh, hell no." I used it again. Man, you talk about technology and Big Brother watching. 2 days later, "We've noticed that you're using..." She's like, "Stop it. Stop. They're going to take away our, internet." I'm like, "Okay." I did it the 3rd time and she was pissed. In a good way, because she watches all these Real Housewives and, all these murdering channels and all these horror shows. So she's like, "You're going to mess up my Wi-Fi. I mean, my cable, my internet. Stop it." But yeah, they found out quick. They found out quick. Yeah, I wonder if I could download the Netflix app on this computer. I've never tried it. I probably can. Could. Oh man, it's a login. Obviously. Choose a plan. I got a plan. Email address. Bing. Oh man. Password time. Wait, I gotta make sure I'm not sharing the screen. Alright, it's not sharing. Let me see here. I think I did that backwards. Oh, they're gonna send me an email on it? Yeah, go ahead, Maha. You gotta check them out. No big deal. Man, where's my email? See, it didn't come through yet. Social? Yeah, I tried to get, we need to resend code. Because I'm not getting it. No, let me go back here and try to do it via text. All right, email, get started. Wait, I should do it. Sign in. Continue. Nah, I'm gonna have to try to figure this out later because they're not sending me the code. The cameras? Maha, is that what you're talking about? Fake news? Let me see if I can find another something downtown. 6:38. Oh, okay. Yeah, I think my cameras are only New York State based on, Department of Transportation here because I tried to, scroll to other states and there was nothing. Not a camera in sight. This area of downtown is kind of dead. Or 6:39 a.m. on a Friday. Yeah, 7 a.m. is when all these cars and start basically jumping and people are on their way to work. I've seen a couple of I'm in a hurry. I just ran a red light. He just made it through. That glass car barely made it through that yellow light. Hi, by the way, have you been going live? Because I haven't been getting notifications, which, I've been complaining about for 4 years about YouTube's notifications. Oh, Bonnie and Clyde. Love it, man. Love it. Yo, that's got to be a great movie. I'm going to watch it. Yeah, I mean, with some channels that I'm sub to, I'll just watch, the replay or listen to it. Walk around the house, do whatever I have to do. Oh, okay, TikTok. Yeah, I'm not subscribed to that. I mean, I'm on YouTube or IG, and on IG, I just watch a lot of, videos on there. It's amazing. I'll post a song that IG. I used to do this a lot, but I stopped. Post music to IG. Whatever. Welcome to the Cave or subscribe to the Cave Music and Chat on YouTube. It's like 6 months later, I'll get a notification from Instagram like, hey, we had to take this video down because it's, copyright on it and we don't want nothing to do with it. I'm like, 6 months later? Damn, you guys are slow. Yeah, a lot of people are saying that, unsubscribe and then resubscribe and make sure you hit the all, which I do that on a lot of channels. Yeah, it's weird, man. It's weird. But that's the best I've been doing is unsubscribing. Boom. And then I hit subscribe. Yeah, I mean, if Bobby Ramos is in here, she'll tell you the other day. I mean, Bobby's been with me for 8 years. And the other day she came inside the cave when I was, playing music or whatever. And she was like, "Hey, I didn't get a notification that you were live." Yeah, Ivy posts everything about cats. Cats, animals, um, anything that has to do with horror. Horror movies, excuse me. I need some more coffee. But yeah, horror movies. Yeah, she just got like 2K views on a video she was telling me the other day. I think it was on Instagram. Yeah, I'm gonna have to check it out. I see a lot of TikTok videos that people, repost. Oh, that's cool, Mile High. Thank you, Bobby. I don't even know. Let me look at this YouTube right here. Is this me? No, that's not me. It's not me either. That's not me either. On every channel but my own. Oh, I'm up 3 subscribers from the last time I looked. That's good. Man, with YouTube, it's like you're up 3, you're down 5. You're up 2, you're down 5. You're up, 4, you're down 6. Every other day, it's been crazy like that for the last 2 weeks with me. Your numbers are going up and down with your subscribers, which I don't really care. I mean, I'm happy with it, and I'm not getting monetized. I'm not in here for the money. For me, it's just entertainment, having a good time, and a hobby. Right. Yeah, I don't think I can do it, Mile High. I mean, when I was on Facebook 10,000 years ago, it was like a job, man. To me, it was like, a job. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing this. I need to find something else. Yeah, Facebook, it was definitely like a job. It's like, hey, I just bought a new pair of sneakers. Check them out. Or we're at the restaurant. I can't do that. Some of the stuff that people put on Facebook is just way too personal. Yeah, I mean, it's cool if people follow you and share you out and everything like that. But for me, if I just ended up with one person in the chat or 0 people in the chat, I'm still doing what I do. I'm still doing what I do. Yeah, Mile High, it's amazing, man. Facebook. It is amazing. We just got a new car. Or people have trouble with, customer service, whether it be restaurant or over the phone or whatever. They're posting that shit. This is the mechanic in his shop where we got ripped off. It's like, holy crap. TikTok kind of them saying. Yeah, I just couldn't do Facebook. I had to jump off that quick. I think I was on it for like 3 months. At work, at my desk, I would go on all the time. Oh, and then I mean, you would get people that I'm like, why did you put that online? Does anybody know a good carpenter? I live at 555, this road. And it's like, you're gonna have a freaking serial killer at your house. Just holding a hammer. Yeah, I'm a carpenter. Where's your tools? Right here. And all he's got is a hammer. It's insane. I can't tell. Is it getting brighter outside? Yes, it is. It's getting brighter out there. Mm, 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 mm. Oh, that's got to be cool. It's amazing, Mount High, that you said covers because I heard a lot of covers in my life, man. And I'm like, damn, why is this better than the original? I mean, it happens. Like, some no-name band covering another band's, song on YouTube. And I'm like, damn, why does the cover sound better than the original? Yeah, and you're right, sometimes. Sometimes, but it happens. But I've heard a ton of them. Oh, wow, that should be there like that. Hang it up right there. Yeah. All right, guys, I'll tell you what. I think I'm going to get out of here, grab some more coffee, watch some morning weather news, see what's going on. Maybe I'll come back to this live if nobody's on later. It's going to be a busy day for me, though. I don't know if I'm gonna do the cave or not, man. I got some personal stuff to do. Got to go to this wake later on. You know, but besides that, some other stuff. But anyways, have a great day, man. Oh yeah, it is getting brighter outside. Thank you everyone for pulling up. I had so much fun. Just, venting, talking, whatever I was doing. But anyways, talk to you soon, man. Bye for now.